لساني يفقهوا قولي رب زدني علما. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We start with we're in between Juz 15 of from Juz 15, Surah Kahf, Surah number 18. We did the first part of Surah Kahf till ayat number 5. Surah Kahf is a Meccan surah where the Quraysh, the community, had gone to the Holy Messenger and asked him, they went to the Jews to ask him, how can we prove him wrong and how can we prove that he's even right? So the Ahl Kitab who were at that time there, the Jewish community, they knew about the Ashab Kahf and then about the Qardain and about the Ruh. And they said, why don't you ask him about these things? And if he claims that he is truly a messenger by Allah who gets revelation, he'll be able to tell you about this. And so this was revealed to him. And then this was revealed to the Holy Messenger. And so hence Surah Kahf is the occasion of revelation is around this time. It's recommended to recite it on Friday. And there are many benefits. As you notice, I don't go into the benefits of the surah because we're doing it essentially. The benefits of the surah are many. However, it's very important to understand that surah to recite, to understand, and then to practice is the most important part. Just recitation is only temporarily where you can have that feel-good feeling. But the most important is for our characters to change and then for our destinies to be one of salvation. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So yes, why did I say this? Because there is a very beautiful benefit of Surah Kahf, which is connected with the theme of Surah Kahf, and that is of if anybody recites it on the night of Friday or on Friday till the next Friday, he will be saved. He will be in protection, or he will be saved, and his sins will be forgiven, and he will be saved from the temptation of dunya and the temptation of the devil. So there is a link here in the surah. There is the themes of this surah has this thing. The messages and the themes of the surah is that if one recites not only with recitation but endeavors to apply and incorporate these themes in their lives, will have not only an effect of a week time but a lifetime, inshallah. I remember going through this surah many years ago and being very inspired by it. And then recently, 4 years back, Dr. Farooq did a part of this surah's tafsir and batini meanings. And inshallah, I hope to share that with you as much as I can. I want to show the video itself. So if there is time, inshallah, let's see. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim from ayat number 6. So ayat number 1 to ayat number 8 is there's no deviation in the Quran. But we start from ayat number 6. فَلَعَلَّكَ بَاخِرٌ نَفْسَكَ عَلَىٰ آثَارِهِمْ. So then perhaps you would kill yourselves through grief over them. This is addressing to the Holy Messenger. If they do not believe in this message, that you can see the consequences of their actions, and it's as though it just pains into your heart. It kills the Holy Messenger or a manifestation or Allah's attributes of Rauf. And so he would be really compassionate and would grieve him to that extent that his heart would break to see. And the Holy Messenger might not be here physically amongst us, but yes, his representative, the Imam, is with us amongst us right now. Having said that, the Holy Messenger is also a witness. He is in a realm which is a realm which you can witness. And so, as I read this, it pains me to say that I hope my actions are not such that the Holy Messenger his heart feels and weeps for our actions. Allah save us from that. And now comes the philosophy and the burden, the philosophy and the wisdom of life in this ayat. And in fact, this entire surah is pivoted around this concept. Inna ja'alna ma'ala al-ardi zina laha linabluwahum ayyuhum ahsanu amal. Indeed, we have made that which is on the earth. So al-ard is connecting to this word zina. If you look at here, al-ard, on earth there is zina. And now if you quickly fast forward, we will do this ayat again, but if you just quickly fast forward in 1846 of this verse, sorry, throat gets dry. 1846, which says al-malu wal-banuna zinat hayat dunya. So when in this previous ayat that we said that Allah has kept their zinat on the earth, and then there is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the same surah says that the mal means the economic resources, and al-banun means the human resources. Are they all the adornments of the worldly life of this world, the zina of this world? And so, how should we interact with this zina is in this ayat, and that's what the main theme of this surah is, that to be able to, what is the purpose and the wisdom of life. And so they say, the scholars say that there are we are humans of multidimensional. We have the spiritual self, and then we have a physical self, and then there we are multidimensional. So the physical self gets attracted to the worldly life of this world because it sees benefit in it, and the zina of it, the adornments, or the relationships which makes life good, right? If basically zina is that goodness of the worldly life of this world, the earth. The goodness in the earth is the provisions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, is the relationships, the wealth. All of this is part of the goodly goodness and the acquisition, which makes earth beautified and beautiful, right? If imagine we had none of this, the world, the acquisition of wealth or relationships, it would not be something which would attract us to this earth. So there is a little subtle point here that on this earth, essentially we don't get attracted to it. It's just there's something that Allah adorns this earth with, which is the relationships, the gifts that He gives us, which makes this earthly life, this goodly life, this earthly life goodly for us. And that's why it says there's zina. The word laha is very important, that in it we have kept zina. So we are actually not ones who get attracted to this earthly life. We don't, it's necessarily, the zina is not that is attributed to insan. It's attributed to the earth. It's the associations that we have with this earth, the gifts that Allah has kept in this earth, that we get attracted to. But it's not our zina. It's not like I have kept zina in you and you get attracted to the adornments. It's the associations that when we associate with the adornments of the worldly life of this world on earth, when we interact with these adornments, i.e. the wealth and the health and the gifts of Allah, is what attracts us, and it keeps us pulled together. So how should you interact with these? How should you interact with these attractions and with these zina, so as to say connected? So ayat number 18, ayat number 7 of surah number 18, connected. What is zina? Zina is surah number 18, ayat number 45, the mal and the banoon. And so how do we have this attraction in it? If they were not there, this earth would not be attractive. What? The gifts that Allah has adorned this earth with our relationships, the wealth, the different gifts that Allah has given us. Whereas there is no zina, there is no adornment, there is no attraction per se for us. He keeps it. And so for us to do the life of this world, so then the question comes like, Allah, why would you do this? Why would you make it? Why would you adorn it with these relationships and attractions and all of that? So that, when we get attracted, then we might get distracted. And when we get distracted, then we might get diverted from your remembrance. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the reason, the philosophy and the wisdom of life, of this earthly life. Laha linabluwahum ayyuhum ahsanu amala, so that whilst you go through the life of this world, getting attracted to the adornments, which is the wealth and the health and the gifts of Allah, it will wear you down. Linabluwakum, so that there is a way. Bala means something which balawa is to wear you down. When you wear clothes and when we're continuously wearing a cloth, when it gets wear down, you can see the inner material of that cloth. You can see the inner fabric of it. So that it wears you down. So the bala is something we have to accept. The challenges and burdens in our life will come, and we have to accept that it is planned, part of the earthly life of this world. Nothing to feel like, why is this challenge? It's part of the design, that as you interact, you will come across the challenges and burdens in life as you get attached to the zina. And so that once you wear down, what will reveal is what is the purpose. is the wisdom, is the philosophy of life. Ayyuhum ahsan amal. So that it brings the best conduct, the best action. The one who does the best action is the one who has the best character, right? So it brings the best character in you by the best action and the best character. It reveals your potential. That's the important thing. Something that ayyuhum ahsan amal, something which is within us has to be revealed. Something which is not that we acquire from outside is ahsan amal. Something that the scholars say it's something which is revealed from within. And this goes back to what I just said, that we within us have multidimensional. We have a spiritual self. We have our spirit, the physical self. We're all multidimensional. And in this spiritual self that we have, through going through this earthly life, getting attached through this zina, we get worn down, which is part of the plan, the system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the challenges and the burdens that we will come across whilst we're going through this earthly life and the goodly life of this earth, getting attached to it, it'll wear us down. Whereas it wears down, it will reveal your true self. And so often we say, okay, well, if it's revealing our true self, then why doesn't it bring out the best when people go through burdens and challenges in respect to the zina of this dunya, which is the health and the wealth and the relationships and all the adornments which adorn our life, the goodly provisions that Allah has blessed us. So why doesn't it bring the best in us? Because I see that it brings the worst in me. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that so we have the potential for it to bring out the best, this attraction and this challenge, and how you interact with it is what the test is. The test is not the zina. The test is not the going through the situation. The test is how you interact with it, how it will determine your salvation. And the potential is ahsan amal. I hope this has been understood. Repeat it. I don't want to repeat it. If it was a normal class, I would have repeated it 10 times. People know who've heard me before, till it is, understood. But it is how you interact with it. So the mal and the banun is a gift by Allah. They are not called down upon. They are just zina. They are adornments. These are the goodly life, the goodly provisions that the goodly God gives us. And it keeps us in this world. And it is there. So if you notice carefully, it's like as though Allah is saying, I have kept every ways for you to do this life of this world. We have to go through this physical life of this world. We have to go through the attachments. We have to go through the challenges and burdens in order to reach to our real a place, which is ahsan amal, and then ahead in the Quran it will say to a real abode, which is the hereafter, the afterworld, the metaphysical world. That is our true status. But this process is important, to going through this, to revealing, to going through the attachments, and then feeling a little bit of pain and the little tug of war. It's all part of the system, and it's all part of his divine wisdom and philosophy of life. If we don't, there is no other way other than not going through this tunnel of life, this physical realm, so that you may reach the best action, the one who does the best actions, the one who has the best character, so that you reveal from what you have. And how can you, it depends on how you interact with these challenges, interact with these gifts that Allah has given you. That's the test. The test is not the mal and the banun. The test is how you interact with them, and which will determine your salvation. How do I interact with them? These are the examples that Surah Kahf has given us. That look at these people. Look at the Ashab Kahf. Look at the people of the garden, the two people of the gardens. Look at Zulkarnain. From these narrations, you will gain inspiration on how they interacted with situations in life and how they reached their potential that we all have within us, the ahsan amal potential. And then you have the story of the narrative of Nabi Adam and Shaitan. And so this whole surah is pivoted around this philosophy and wisdom, that how do you interact with challenges and burdens and the zina of the hayat dunya, which will determine your salvation or your wretchedness depending on your interaction. And then elsewhere in the Quran that we read, if you interact with it through tawheed, you will grow. And so that means this surah essentially should have a protocol on how do I how do I increase my tawheed? And I have not, and I am just a student, have not come across this protocol till a few years ago, where I heard the Batini understanding of one of the narrations in Surah Al-Kahf, which is of Dhul Qarnain. I'm super excited to share with you the how do I interact with these situations is through tawheed, number one. Well, how do I increase my tawheed? The practical protocol is in the story of Dhul Qarnain, and you'll have to hold on till the end of the session because it's right at the end. I don't know if I'll be able to do Surah Al-Maryam, but I'm super excited to share. So this is it. So every blessing intertwined is with divine test, and use the test in the best way, and it will lead us to the best result. अब मैं ये एक line कह देती और आगे बढ़ जाती, लेकिन it's just that you have to give that little bit of premises. So use the test in the best way, and it will lead you to the best result. Every test has a potential for our growth. Use them and see them as a test for you, in the sense for your own, to be able to lead to your best result. Through challenges and burdens, we increase our tawheed. And essentially, the surah gives us protocols on how do you increase your tawheed, whilst taking inspiration from these narrations in Surah Kahf. And then the end narration has the practical protocol. And indeed, we will make that which is upon it a barren land. So eventually, this all will become barren. Well, inna ja'alna lija'iluna ma'alai sahidan juraza. Sahida means like dust. Everything, people who we're so attached to are now in a different realm, have passed away. Everything, some things when we were growing up, there were toys which we were attached to, and now when we look back, we're like, really? We were fighting for that? And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us a reality check. And now from ayat number 9 to ayat number 31 is the narration of Ashab al-Kahf. Yes, who would like to read from 9 to 31, please?
I can read.
Bismillah. Go ahead.
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Or have you thought that the companions of the cave and the inscription were among our signs a wonder? Mention when the youths retreated to the cave and said, "Our Lord, grant us from yourself mercy, and prepare for us from our affair right guidance." So we cast a cover of sleep over their ears within the cave for a number of years. Then we awakened them that we might show which of the two factions was most precise in calculating what extent they had remained in time. It is we who relate to you, O Muhammad, their story in truth. Indeed, they were youths who believed in their Lord, and we increased them in guidance. And we bound, that is, made firm their hearts when they stood up and said, "Our Lord is the Lord of the heavens and the earth. Never will we invoke beside him any deity." We would have certainly spoken. Then an excessive transgression. These our people have taken besides him deities. Why do they not bring for worship of them a clear evidence? And who is more unjust than one who invents about Allah a lie? The youth said to one another, "And when you have withdrawn from them and that which they worship other than Allah, retreat to the cave. Your Lord will spread out for you of his mercy and will prepare for you from your affair facility." And had you been present, you would see the sun when it rose, inclining away from their cave on the right, and when it set, passing away from them on the left, while they were lying within an open space thereof. That was from the signs of Allah, and he whom Allah guides is the rightly guided, but he whom he sends astray, never will you find for him a protecting guide. And you would think them awake while they were asleep, and we turned them to the right and to the left, while their dog stretched his forelegs at the entrance. If you had looked at them, you would have turned from them in flight and been filled by them with terror. And similarly, we awakened them that they might question one another. Said a speaker from among them, "How long have you remained here?" They said, "We have remained a day or part of a day." They said, "Your Lord is most knowing of how long you remained. So send one of you with this silver coin of yours to the city and let him look to it, which is the best of food, and bring you provision from it, and let him be cautious, and let no one be aware of you. Indeed, if they come to know of you, they will stone you or return you to their religion, and never would you succeed then, ever." And similarly, we caused them to be found, that they who found them would know that the promise of Allah is truth, and that of the hour there is no doubt. That was when they disputed among themselves about their affair, and then said, "Construct over them a structure. Their Lord is most knowing about them." Said those who prevailed in the matter, "We will surely take for ourselves over them a masjid." They, that is the people, will say that there were three, the fourth of them being their dog. And they will say, They were five, the sixth of them being their dog, guessing at the unseen. And they will say, there were seven, and the eighth of them was their dog. Say, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, my Lord is most knowing of their number. None knows them except a few. So do not argue about them except with an obvious argument, and do not inquire about them among the speculators from anyone.
Yes,
And never
that's enough. Mariam, that's enough. And inshallah, I'll ask you to continue in a bit. So this is this is about the people of the cave. Ashab al-Kahf are known to have lived in a place where they were led by a ruler who was not one of faith, and they were people of faith, and before them was a kind ruler, and then came a ruler who was not, and so they were ministers, they say, and they were people of faith. And what's important here is a few things I want to just note down before we go ahead. If you look at ayat number 9, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here is bringing us, this is the test of faith, that how when we interact with the zina of the hayat dunya of this earth, there will be a test of faith. And so essentially in their situation was a test of faith. What was their test of faith? Was a test of when these people, Ashab al-Kahf, were why are they known as Ashab al-Kahf? They were actually ministers of a very high status, but in traditions, they say that they retreated to a cave. I'm just going to come to the cave part here. I wanted to say something about this word retreated here in a tafsir that I very recently studied root meanings of the word in the Batini and the universal meanings. Anyways, just coming back to this word about cave, is Ashab al-Kahf were raqim, that they were inscribed. That means their story when they were in the cave, then later their story was inscribed and put on the cave. If you notice that the story doesn't start from the beginning to the end. It's just, it's a story about them, and then it goes on what happened, and then it ends. And then it doesn't go into the particularities. So point number one, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not concerned with the particularities about what dog was it and how many people were there. It's more about the message. And for a message for us is that sometimes we will go through the test of faith, whereas they went, where they were opposed and there was corruption at that level where they could not be part of that society. They could not be part of that corrupt ruler under that corrupt society. So they went into isolation. And so in Islam, most of the times we are directed and to do communal worship, to be in the community, like we read of Prophet Nuh and his son, who kept himself aloof. Most of the times we are always guided to be with people, to interact and to learn. But at times, situation says that you have to isolate. Like Prophet Yusuf, there came a point where he chose the prison to isolate. Like Prophet Musa, he left Egypt and he went on his other journey. So isolation isolating yourself has its own virtue in its situation. That's point number one. The other thing about this was, I wanted to say about this beautiful dua in ayat number 10, that as they left everything, what did they hope for was Allah's mercy and Allah's guidance. Rabbana atina min ladunka rahma inna min ladunka rahmatu wa hayyi' lana min amrina rashada. That, oh Allah, from you, what we want is mercy. And mercy looks like guidance here. And guidance looks like amrina, that you have control over our authority and you have control. So guide us to our rightly guidance. So there, it shows that their tawheed was very strong. And they knew that mercy, guidance, Allah is constantly in control, is by Allah and Allah alone. So they retreated. This word awa is awa here means not retreat. Let me just read my notes so I'm not saying anything wrong. Yes. So here the word awa means the intending either at the outset or in returning towards a materialistic or spiritual station with intention of residing or establishing oneself as a refuge or resting. And so here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that they retreated, they left. Why? When the youths were retreated to the cave to rest or to relieve themselves from the vicious sins of the people, to relieve and to from the sins of the people. So they left in that way. It's something to appreciate, that every word of the Quran has meanings and the reason why this word is used. Another word I'm going to use in another ayat, I'm going to point out that in English, we will just, say it like this, but in Arabic, it has a deeper meaning. And so they retreated from the sins of the people is the true meaning, the universal meaning of this word, that they retreated from the vices and the sins of the people, from the materialism to spirituality. One of the protocols for us too, in the life of this world, when we go through challenges in life, to be able to set back and to retreat. And how do we interact with them is to see the reality of the material and the reality of Tawheed, and to be able to see everything through Tawheedi lens, like how they did. And so we cast a cover of sleep over their eyes. Here, people, like, they went into like an hibernation, and usually we're like, how can this happen in humans? But don't we see it every time in animals? Animals hibernate every year. 6 times of the month they're hibernating, where they're literally, their heart rate, scientists say, that comes down. Comes down. I think I'm forgetting the heartbeat. I was just listening to a talk where the heartbeat is a certain level, and when they go into hibernation, the heartbeat slows down. By the will of Allah and the power of Allah, we see this constantly happening. So it happened for them too. And then we will awaken them when we might show which of the two factions was most precise. So they say they were actually hibernating for 300 years, but in a way that they hibernated, that the eyes were open, and there was a dog. So when people would pass by, they would get scared and they would move away, and then they had so many years pass by. And so Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam says from ayat number 13 that they were old people, because here it's saying nahnu naqassu alayka nabahum bil haq, ayat number 13, that indeed we are relating to you a story, relating to your narration, a news with truth. And so Imam Jafar Sadiq says that they were old people, but they had why are they called as fitna? Fitya means young youths. They say it's because of their iman and their faith. In Allah's eyes, they're youths and they're young. It's the faith and the iman which decides our age in according to their, versus the body gets old and it will deteriorate and it will decompose. But the spiritual journey of humans is what defines their true youths, and that's why they are called fitya, whereas in the physical sense they were older and they were ministers. And were rabatna, so when they made that strong conviction, a very important word here, were rabatna ala qulubihim, and aren't we all looking for that oh Allah, make our hearts firm, make our hearts rabatana. And we read the same word in Surah Maryam, inshallah, tomorrow, that how Allah strengthened her heart as well. وَرَبَّتَنَا عَلَىٰ قُلُوبِهِمْ. Sorry, not Surah Maryam, in Surah Qasas, where the mother of Prophet Musa heart will also be وَرَبَّتَنَا عَلَىٰ قُلُوبِهِمْ. When this strengthening of the heart comes? When we choose to do life on Tawheed. وَآمَنُوا بِرَبِّهِمْ وَزِدْنَاهُمْ هُدًى. When we choose to do life through Tawheed, through seeing life through Tawheed, through seeing challenges and burdens through Tawheed, when there's a loss, for them it was a test of faith, where they were willing to lose their material status and stand on Iman, stand on Tawheed, that our faith should not get compromised, our spirituality should not get compromised. وَرَبَّتْنَا عَلَىٰ قُلُوبِهِمْ. Allah strengthened their heart. إِسْقَامُ فَقَالُوا رَبُّنَا رَبُّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. They were easily be able to uphold godly values. And there's a lot to be said here, but just to make a connection, it's important that we all are looking to be able to have that firm resolve. And the way of firm resolve is to be able to stand on whatever Tawheed that we have, to be able to interact with challenges and burdens through Tawheed. هَؤُلَاءِ قَوْمُنَا. And these are our people we have taken besides them, deities, and so they speak with the people. So in ayat number 17, and had you been present, you would have seen the sun when it rose inclining. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, if you look at ayat number 17, he says that not only when you choose to do life through Tawheed, when you go through challenges and burdens through Tawheed, and you stand firm on Tawheed, and you choose spiritual growth versus willing to leave the material acquisition and choose Tawheed, Allah says, I will look after you in ways no one can. And the way this cave that they were directed to, this cave was situated in a way that the rays would come in a way that it would not be too much, neither would it be too little, and that they were easily be able to hibernate. Isn't it like it's the perfect cave for a bear to go and hibernate, where he can get the little bit of sun rays and all. But here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, I make sure I look after. I will make sure I look after your dunya as well as your hereafter, your spirituality, if you start doing just holding on to Tawheed, understanding Tawheed, holding on to Tawheed, and doing life through Tawheed, interacting with challenges and burdens through Tawheed. What is Tawheed? Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. I am from Allah. Nothing belongs to me. I'm only a safekeeper, and I'm returning constantly back to Him. And if you follow path of Iman, He takes care of them with the most detailed way. And so if you fast forward and go to ayat number 18, like I said, that how they were, and you would think that they're awake, but they were asleep, and we turned them to the right and then to the left, and while their dogs stretched their forelegs. So there's a lot of tafsir on where did the dog come and all. They say maybe amongst them was even a shepherd. So they were not all were from the ministry of the ministers of the ministry, but maybe one of them was a shepherd, and a shepherd had his dog. Some of them, the tafsir says this. And so imagine, subhanAllah, no racism that, hey, I'm a minister and you're a shepherd. Faith brings people from different walks together, and those friendships are divine and eternal friendships. So maybe one of them was a shepherd, and if you look at ayat number 19, and we awakened them that they might question one another, and said a speaker from amongst them, how long have you remained? So they had coins, and when they woke up, they had these coins, and they said, why don't you go and get this? If you see this word, wal yatalattaf, this word is actually the half of the entire Quran. So if you had to take the entire Quran and count the words, wal yatalattaf would be right in the middle of the words of the Quran, the entire Quran, and then this word comes in the middle, which is the half of the Quran, and this is the word. Imagine this word, nothing is in vain. This word is right in the middle, and some of the Quran, it might be highlighted, or it might be highlighted. So why this word? Wal yatalatta. It means, and let him be cautious, but it also means latif or lataf means pure. And so bring you provision from it, and let him be cautious. Let him be, it means the best of food. Yani, let him be cautious and bring the purest of foods. Think about it. It's not only about the physical food, but here could be also. A lot can be said here, but I'm just going in a very simple tafsir. And if you're interested, Sheikh Bahmanpur has done detailed tafsir of Surah Al-Kahf. Many scholars have detailed. Remind me to post you a link of all the Quran, the entire Quran tafsirs, all the surahs, and which scholars have done which tafsir which scholar has done which tafsir, and they've made a little database of it. I can send you the link of it. Indeed, if they come to know of you, they will stone you or return to you their religion, and never would you succeed than ever. So just be careful, be cautious, and go with your coins and get risk which is pure, and be careful and be aware, and so on and so forth. So ayat number 21, they prayed for death when people started to realize, hey, these coins are from like way beyond, and that means these people are not from our generation, and it started to spread. So they actually prayed for death, that Allah bring death upon us, that we don't go through, or because of us, Islam doesn't go through any compromise because of us. And that's what always the grief of Nabi Musa was. Inshallah, we'll do it in Surah Qasas, that when they, or Nabi Maryam, or Lady Maryam, inshallah, alayhi salam, we will do it in Surah Maryam next time, that when they would grieve, their grief was not like, oh my God, this has happened to me. Their grief was, I hope our actions don't compromise the route to Islam for others. And so for them, they asked for death. And similarly, we caused them to be found, that they who found them would know that the promise of Allah is truth. And when people reached up to them, they had died. And so they decided, they were all discussing what should we do with them, and they decided to build a mosque. Now in the Quran, when certain things are said, and if there's no negation of it, that means it is Allah's okay in that what what the Quran is saying. What is it? Like construct over them. And so one of them said, let's construct a structure over them. Alayhim bunyanan rabbuhum a'lahum. Their Lord is most knowing about them, and said, those who prevailed in their matter, we will surely take for ourselves over them a masjid. And so there is, look at the next ayah, there is no negation that in order to remind yourself and be mindful of people of faith who have gone through challenges and burdens of life and held on to faith, that if you make a monument and a masjid around their Muslim, for your own, Allah has not negated it. Balki he actually says that this is what they were saying and this is what they decided to do. And then the narrative goes ahead. So here so scholars say that that means it's not negated, and that means it's okay. And so ayat number 22 doesn't mean that you go and worship, but of course it means that these places then become a means of worship. Worship is what? Something which reminds you and makes you mindful of where are you come from, where are you going, and what did these people do? And they will say there were 3 and the 4th. So they started arguing like how many people were there? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying, don't go into the particularities. Understand what's important is the last part of this ayat. So they go into the particularities, and all of a sudden this ayat switches and says, Qul Rabbi a'lamu. Allah knows best. Bi'iddatum, that Allah knows what is the amount. Ma ya'lamuhum illa qalil, except that I know less. Fala tumari fihim. And what's important is that so you do not argue about them except an obvious argument, and do not inquire in them about the speculators from anyone. And so the important part is not that the importance, the particularities. What's important is to know what's the message and what I can learn from it, and the rest Allah knows best. From ayat number 23 to ayat number 24, the occasion of revelation of these ayats were when the Quraysh came to ask about these people, Ashab Kahf. What was the Holy Messenger might have said, indeed, I will do that tomorrow. I will let you know tomorrow. And then here an ayat came that whenever anything has been intended for, always remember to say, inshallah. It's not like the Holy Messenger's sallallahu alaihi wasallam's faith was that, or it's that Allah was correcting him. But through this situation came a guidance for us, for mankind till eternity, that when situations happen in a way, when you know you will do something and you have the capability to doing it, even then say inshallah. Not like us that we don't have any intent to do it, we don't want to do it, and then we just say inshallah. Inshallah is when you know you have the capability to do it, you want to do it, but you always remember that Allah is in control, and this system is based on His justice. And I might think that this I will do, but always knowingly that Allah is always in control. He's all wise, all just, all merciful, and He will bring into fruition what truly is going to come. So hence, in this even, I rely upon Him as I intend to do what I do. وَاذْكُرْ رَبَّكَ إِذَا نَسِيتَ وَقُلْ. And if you forget, remember Asa Yahdiyan. So it becomes an attitude in life. Perhaps my Lord will guide me to what is nearer than this, into right conduct. So they say it did not come. The revelation did not come for a few days, and then the Holy Messenger was revealed this ayat and this ayat, so that indeed my Lord will guide me towards what is the right thing. And this is an attitude in life, that sometimes we plan and things don't take place. Instead of going back and complaining about it or feeling bad about it, it's a very tawheedi way of saying, yahdini rabbi li aqrab. Whatever happened is for the best, and whatever happens, there is best in it. And alhamdulillah that now Allah took in control, and alhamdulillah my plans were superseded with God's plan, and His plan is the best of plan, haza rashada. And when my plans even happen, when our plans take place, in that even not to take pride, but to say alhamdulillah, mashallah, la quwwata illa billah, whatever Allah wills, no strength is from me, and this happened is good. Walabithu, and they remained in their cave for 300 years, exceeding 9. So in this ayat, Mufassirun, why is it 300 and then 9? Why couldn't it be 309? Because solar system wise, solar years would be 300, lunar years would be 309, just a way to think. Allah is most knowing of how long they remained. He has knowledge of the unseen, of the heavens and earth. How seeing is He, and how hearing? They have not besides Him any protector. Min waliyun wala yushrik fi hukman ahada, and not His legislation with anyone. So again, coming back to Tawheed, is that's what's important. You will come in life, we all will go through tests of faith where we know that we have to uphold these godly values. And so this story gives us inspiration, inspires us that when you will interact with the zina of this dunya, you might be tested with faith. How should you go? Come and read this. Recite the dua. Rabbana atina min ladunka rahma. Innaka anta. Rabbana atina min ladunka rahma. Hayyi lana min amrina rashada. That Allah, you show me the right path. Show me the right guidance. I want to do what is par with your pleasure. I want to uphold godly values and do things through Tawheed. And then not fearing, because there's a hadith which says that they fear Allah only, and Allah made everyone fear them. But when you fear other than Allah, then you fear everyone. So in a little nutshell, ayat number 28 to ayat number, and recite what has been revealed to you of the book of your Lord. There is no changer of his words. Never will you find in other than him a refuge. No doubt about that. Ayat number 28 to 29 speak about two categories. And keep yourself patient by being with those who call upon their Lord in the morning. So who should you befriend, and who should you? So if we want to do life at par with our faith, and we know at times we're tested of our faith, we know at times that we have to do the right thing. However, we don't find that strong resolve. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings another solution and says, here, stay, see who your friends are, see who motivates you, and see who are you with. If you're with people who are mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not heedless, this will motivate you and inspire you to stay on Tawheed and on faith. Wasbir, so be patient with those who call upon their Lord, ghadawati wal ashi, and seeking his face, and seeking Allah's attentiveness, striving in how to manifest godly attributes within themselves, and let not your eyes pass beyond them. And so do not envy and do not be desiring what? Desiring adornments of the worldly life. What are the other? Turidu zinat al-hayat dunya. Turidu zinat, again, zinat is what? All the gifts of the gift giver. So don't envy others when others have those gifts and that you don't, but suffice with what you have. And how can you? When you surround yourself with people who are mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Essentially talking about friends and being amongst people who are mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and do not obey one whose hearts we have made heedless. أغفلنا قلبه عن ذكرنا, of our remembrance, and who follows his desires and whose affairs is ever in neglect. Three things happen. When there is heedlessness of being mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, zikr. So here there's a hadith that I want to pause and first invite myself and then you, and share it with you all, is this, that there's a hadith that the Imam says, and I've just made a snapshot of it, but could not bring it to the screens here, is that don't let any day go. Let me just read you this hadith, and reminding myself here first before anybody else, and I hope inshallah that after Ramadan we can continue this. And this is what Imam Jafar ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq alayhi salam says, that the Quran is the trust of Allah given to his creations. Therefore it is desirable for every Muslim to look at this trust and to recite minimum of 50 verses every day. Inshallah, a tawfiq, that not only do we recite 50 verses every day, although we do recite with the hamd and the qul, in the salah and all of that, but recite it with recitations of understanding and contemplation to some extent. Takes only 25, maybe 30 max. If you go through 50 ayats, just recitation, and then just contemplating. Tadabbur is allowed. We're not allowed to do tafsir unless we have the skills of it, as a scholarly skills, but we're all allowed to do tadabbur, reflecting on what has been said and reflecting for yourselves, and how can I follow through? Tadabbur, dubura means to, tail end, like how can I follow through what I have, and reflecting on how can I incorporate all of these, what I have read, 50 ayats a day. So inshallah, when we are surrounded by people who are not heedless, what will happen? The opposite of this. People, do not surround yourselves with ones. Do not, first of all, envy the gifts the gift giver, which Allah has given to others. Don't reach out, but always remember Allah is just, wise, and all merciful. He gives to everybody according to their capacity and according to their desires. So I get what I get, they get what they get. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. That's one mindset. And then don't surround yourselves with people. Sorry, تطيعوا من أغفلنا قلبه عن ذكرنا, and do not surround yourselves with people who have heedless, who have veiled themselves from the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What will happen on zikr? What taba'a? That's a cause and effect. The degree we veil ourselves from the zikr of Allah, reminding ourselves afkar of Allah, being mindful of that, the degree we are, our shahwa, our desires will overrule us. And the degree that our desires overrule us, guess what our actions will be? Our actions whose affairs wa kana amruhu furata. The actions will be furata. Ifrat with tafrit means it will be extremists, extreme access, overconsumption, over consuming, not just taking as much as we want. And I invite myself to this before I invite anybody else to this. May Allah keep us one of those who are mindful of Allah, where our akal is dominating our desires, not our desires dominating, and where we are not people of acts, or people whose actions are extremes, but we are able to consume as much as we want and not part of overconsumption, inshallah. And say the truth is from your Lord, so whoever wills, let him believe, and whoever wills, let him disbelieve. Indeed, we are prepared for the wrongdoers of fire whose walls will surround them. Remember, whenever in the Quran Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about azab or punishment of the hereafter, punishment is directly reflection of the sins. And so whatever characteristics of punishments which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks to us, he describes for us, is in degree of the sins, and the sins will manifest as this the fire whose walls will surround them, and if they call for relief, they will be relieved with water like murky oil. Who are these people? The category above was the occasion of revelation of this ayat was the Holy Messenger, when everybody was bringing in faith. So the elite of that time would tell the Holy Messenger that you have a separate meeting for us. We're not sitting with these poor people and the simple people. You have a separate meeting for us. And then this ayat was revealed that don't extend your eyes. There is no difference. And sit with the ones who are simple, who call upon their Lord morning and day, and who are their desire is to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the ones who have this difference, this rich versus poor, the effect and the hereafter is this, that they call for relief and they will be relieved with water like murky oil. So they were not that relief for others, but they were those stingy, like not stinky, but those words which would sting the other person's heart, and hence the water which stings and which scalds their faces. And when something comes upon our faces, it's cause of humiliation, right? And so they were humiliating, and they will be humiliated. Wretched is the drink, and evil is the resting place. Inna allazina amanu wa amilu salihat inna la nadhi'u ajra min ahsana amala. Always Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's beautiful way, if he is speaking about a punishment and a cause and effect of a sin, he will always speak about the good and the effects of the good. Ajra min ahsana amal. And then Allah will not waste the ahsan, the will not be lost the reward of anyone who did well in deeds. Ulaika lahum jannatin adri tajri min tahtiha al-anhar yuhawlawna fiha min asawira min dhahabin wa yalbasuna thiyaban. And so their bracelets of gold will wear green garments. Remember, green has an inner meaning. Green is what? Green means when plants are green, and I'm not saying this by myself. There is a talk, if you're interested, I can send you this talk. This is a talk where Dr. Farooq shared this, the inner Batini meanings of green and musk and all of that whilst when he was in Umrah with a group of people, and I heard this talk. It was really, really inspiring. Green, when plants are green, when anything is green, it shows life. And so these are the people whose spiritual life, their life and their spirituality is they are spiritually alive and not spiritually dead. And so we will wear green garments of fine silk, if you just, I don't want to just say things. I'm sorry. Yes. So the green color signifies when a plant wants to grow from earth, it's a transformation from brown to green. So green signifies that you have your dunya to your hereafter transformation is resulted positively. Write this down, very important. So that your dunya to hereafter transformation is resulted positively, and hence it manifests as these green. They will wear green garments of fine silk. Silk has a thing, brocade has, everything has a meaning to it. And so it signifies that you have your dunya to hereafter transformation has resulted positively. You manage to sow positively in this dunya and you reap. Green plants grown when you harvest successfully, the good action you have done is going to manifest there as green. And what is musk, scented musk? When a flower reaches its objective and goal, scent being the final result, right? So this musk in the hereafter is the final result of your deeds and in relation to the azan. So it's the, it's the final. So green is the signification of victory. You saying that, it's the victory, is the signification of your victory and movement of yours, the action that you did in the dunya, the movement of the order progresses and it ends upwards with the rain as green, which is the sign of victory. And so, just when the flower fruitions, it gives out smell. So the smell that you will smell, you can smell it now, even if your barzakhi eyes opens up, the smell of your actions will be of this musk. I don't know how much you are enjoying this, but these are not just mythical stories where the Quran gives that this will happen in heaven, this will happen in hell. It is called tajassum al-amal. Every action has its effects, and we will be able to experience the effects in the hereafter multifold, because that realm is a realm of perfection. And so we'll be able to experience our effects of our actions in totality with all our senses, not only just with one sense, with the totality of our entire senses. I am super excited to just, share this because yes, I will please share this in the group. Sure, I will share my notes and the talk in the group. So inshallah, you can understand this better. And, I don't know how much I get really excited when when things make sense, and it gives us more motivation and inspiration, and present to them an example of two men. So now from ayat number 32 to ayat number 49 is a test of wealth. Remember, we did the test of faith for the people Ashab Kahf, and now as you interact with the life of the worldly life of this world and the gifts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which are adornments and zina, you might go through the test of wealth. And so how should you interact with the test of wealth is this. Who would like to read from 32 to 49?
I can read, Shazia.
Please go ahead.
Oh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And present to them an example of two men. We granted to one of them 2 gardens of grapevines, and we bordered them with palm trees and placed between them fields of crops. Each of the 2 gardens produced its fruit and did not fall short thereof in anything. And we caused to gush forth within them a river. And he had fruit, so he said to his companion while he was conversing with him, I am greater than you in wealth and mightier in numbers of men. And he entered his garden while he was unjust to himself. He said, I do not think that this will perish ever. And I do not think the hour will occur. And even if I should be brought back to my Lord, I will surely find better than this as a return. His companion said to him while he was conversing with him, have you disbelieved in he who created you from dust and then from a sperm drop and then proportioned you as a man? But as for me, he is Allah, my Lord, and I do not associate with my Lord anyone. And why did you, when you entered your garden, not say, what Allah willed has occurred? There is no power except in Allah. Although you see me less than you in wealth and children, it may be that my Lord will give me something better than your garden and will send upon it a disastrous penalty from the sky, and it will become a smooth, dusty ground. Or its water will become sunken into the earth, so you would never be able to seek it. And his fruits were encompassed by ruin. So he began to turn his hands about in dismay over what he had spent on it, while it had collapsed upon its trellises, and said, Oh, I wish I had not associated with my Lord anyone. And there was for him no company to aid him other than Allah, nor could he defend himself. There, the authority is completely for Allah, the truth. He is best in reward and best in outcome. And present to them the example of the life of this world, its being like rain, which we send down from the sky, and the vegetation of the earth mingles with it. And then it becomes dry, remnants scattered by the winds. And Allah is ever, over all things, perfect in ability.
Yes, thank you. That's it. I need to explain something from 46. So there were two men who owned this garden, and ayat number 34, both of their different perspectives. One was poor than the other one. And so they're having a conversation. And if you look at ayat number 34, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that his attitude was that he said to his companion while he was conversing with him, I am greater than you in wealth, is in a competitiveness, and mightier in numbers of men. And so not only in wealth, but he had dignity and honor and a lot of people working under him. Often, sometimes we don't find ourselves saying, I am better, but it's an attitude where we feel that I am better. And may Allah save us from this pride where if people are working under us, or if Allah has blessed us with a lot of wealth or dignity and honor, that we're always able to associate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and say, nothing is mine, I'm only a safekeeper, this is all Allah's. However, he attributed to himself. And as he attributed to himself, ayat number 35, he entered his garden while he was unjust to himself. You can never be unjust to Allah, but you're only unjust to yourself, attributing these gifts to yourself. And then I do not think that this will perish ever, in the sense that not believing in the hereafter and the temporary life of this world, what happens is that the eyes get veiled, where we think, we might not say that this doesn't perish ever, but our hopes and our desires and our planning for the life of this world is such that we think we're here forever. And every phase that we are in, we think that this phase is absolute and is forever. And so his mindset was like this, that it's like, I'm here and this is all here and life is like this and what will happen, and I have so much wealth and so much honor and so much dignity that, kya ho sakta hai? Not understanding that, everything is in Allah's control. So forgetting Allah and dhikr, and it will remain forever, his arrogance and proud made him oblivious to the duty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and no belief in accountability. Ayat number 36, I do not think the hour will occur. It's a belief in accountability. And even if it comes, what I wanted to say in this ayat number 36, what's important is, even if I should be brought back to my Lord, but Rabbi, la ajidanna khaira, I will surely find better than this as a return. The I here is something you must underline, that even though if Allah ne mujhe itni sari ne'maton se nawaza is dunya mein, to akhirat mein bhi I will find better than this in the hereafter as well. The I is what is important here, the pronoun, attributing the good to I, the virtues to I, and saying, my actions will get me good in the hereafter, no Allah. And this is a little important point here, that often we depend on our virtuous acts as well. And we think, oh, I've done so much good deed and that's why I've got this, or I've done so much good deed, Jannat to meri pakki, or, it's really something to think about, that how can imperfect beings who do imperfect actions with very imperfect, broken intents have this? Of course, we can have hope for sure, but have the surety that this will get me exactly what the pleasure of Allah in the hereafter, and the closeness to Allah. That shows not only there's one, arrogance is on the gifts of Allah that has given us, and you attribute it to yourself, my talents got me this, and then there's a spiritual righteousness where we think, my salah and my som and my this and my that is something which is huge and great. So he was attributing it to the I, that in the hereafter, even I will get it. There is no Allah here. And his companion said to him while he was conversing with him, have you disbelieved in he who created you from dust and then from a sperm drop and then portioned you as a man? Why is there details? Why is this man saying, are you disregarding the one who brought you from, remember they were gardeners, they were farmers, right? And they had huge harvests, like owners of this other man was the owner of huge fields and harvests. So in order to make him explain, so he went in to explain him our own origins. When we die, we become dust. We become dust, we become part of the soil, and then soil gives out vegetations, and from vegetations, we eat, and from what we eat, we produce sperm, and then from the sperm we produce, man is produced and given. So he's explaining the physical, because he was so material in understanding and physical in understanding. So he's saying, look at our own beginnings. We are nothing but from dust and from the sand, in the sense, like, look at our origins. It was nothing but vegetations and plants which came from sand, which came from the earth, and then how we are physical selves and material selves, and then there's ensoulment and 4 months, that's separate. However, this is our, so what is there to feel so pride? And he took confidence in, so the other person, if you look at ayat 38, he took confidence in Tawheed. And then what happened was in ayat number 41, where or its water will come sunken, and he never thought that there would be a wind, simple wind, and then your garden will send upon it a disastrous penalty from the sky, and it will become a smooth and dusty ground. Or it's water, like he's saying, a wind, or simple water not being accessible to you, like how we read that water was accessible, that his harvesting, his land was so fertile that there was rivers and irrigation was very good in his fields. But imagine the water would not be accessible. Then what will happen? And his fruits were encompassed, so he began to turn his hands about his dismay and over what he had spent, while it had collapsed upon it, and said, oh, I wish I had not associated with my Lord anyone, in the sense that he realized, with the challenge and the burden that he went through of the test of wealth, that he realized that this might have an effect of me being ungrateful and not being. So if you truly can take a test, even if it's a test of wealth and bankruptcy, but truly deal with it through Tawheed, you're growing. And there's a win-win situation, even though physically you might be less on wealth, but if you deal with it through Tawheed, you grow. And so this man realized, that I wish I had not associated with my Lord anyone, in the sense not being ungrateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and being heedless of him. And there was for him no company to aid him other than Allah, nor could he defend himself. Hunalika. And so here hunalika is important, that at every situation, given situation, Allah's wilaya. He realized Allah's wilaya means Allah's authority, Allah's control, Allah's guardianship at that point, that Allah is in control always, and whatever is from Allah. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, you realize it there, but Allah's control and authority is with us always. And so he is the best in reward and is the best in outcome. And then present to them the example. And so in order to digest this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains the example of this, the earth, and then the rain, and the understanding of Allah's authority that we send down from the sky, and the vegetations of the earth and mingles with it, and then it becomes dry and scattered by winds, and Allah is ever over all things perfect in ability. Simple thing as wind can just overcome so much. Simple, small little wires that we can't even see, and how much the world has gone through. So ayat number 46, al-malu wal-banunu zinat al-hayat dunya. Again, this concept has been explained with more detail, that the mal and the banun are the adornments. And so they will attract, there's an attraction towards them where we will want to attribute and associate it with ourselves. Nothing's wrong, but how you associate with the gifts is where the test is. If you say it's my children, my husband, my spouse, the my and the I's, and you attribute it to yourself and you say it's all mine, versus saying I'm only a safekeeper, nothing is mine to begin with. Wal baqiyatu salihat khair. But what is everlasting is how you deal with it and how you interact with it. If you interact with it and you deal with situations and you deal with the gifts that the gift giver has given you with pure intent, it becomes baqiyatu salihat. It becomes everlasting khair. Baqiyatu salihat means everlasting actions, good actions, but they could be everlasting evil actions as well. And so in the Rabbim Sawab, and what's important, what is everlasting is the good actions that you do, is how you interact with the gifts, with Tawheed, with pure intents, number one. And number two, the Sawab is something that is remaining, the reward of that is good. وَخَيْرٌ amala, and better for one's hope. Why didn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, and enduring to you and good for you is the good deeds that Allah has blessed us with, that how you interact with them through Tawheed, with good intents, will have everlasting effects. And this is a reward for the good doers. وَخَيْرٌ وَخَيْرٌ إِنَّ رَبَّكَ ثَوَابٌ وَخَيْرٌ, and this is a good reward and a khair reward. Amala, the word here, amal niya, with an action, and these are good actions, but it says amala, for reward and better for one's hope. This is something which is important, the word here, hope. What is the difference between rija and hope and amal? Here in the Arabic, in English, it's all hope. But rija is something where you have hope with a positive outcome. Amal is something, and I want to just read you my notes so that I don't make a mistake. Amal is something where Rija, likelihood of hope, is more fruition wise, versus amal is hope which is probable, but some preliminary missing, not impossible, but less likely than rija, that sometimes don't even depend on your baqiyatul salihatul khair amal. Because yes, have hope in Allah that He will reward you for it, but have a hope in it. Hope in the sense that maybe our intents were not so strong. So due to one's ignorance of future in relation to oneself, one's intention, and one is not sure right now of the outcome. So having said that we don't know what exactly that baqiyatul salihat khair will bring that real outcome or not, because sometimes the action might be good, but our intents might be weak. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, let's summarize this. Wealth and children are but a zinat. How you interact with them determines your salvation, determines your destiny. But if you interact with them through Tawheed, with pure intents, then enduring good deeds are better to your Lord. How you interact with them determines your afterlife and for reward. And what's better is better for one's hope. So this is more better than the gift in and of itself. How you interact with it through Tawheed and good intent is better than just the gift in and of itself, and to say, oh, you know what, I feel like I am really blessed by Allah because I have all of these gifts. That never is a rectification criteria in the entire Quran. That if you want to see that you're successful, you see the gifts. Success is only measured in how much is your taqwa, how is your tawheed, and how you interact with these gifts. And in that, even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, and better for one's hope, because in that even we don't know that the good that we do with our gifts that we have, the wealth and the health and everything that Allah has given us, we still don't know how our intents will be. Here I pause and I recite this dua that we did yesterday. Rabbi adkhilni mudkhala sidqin wa akhrijni mukhraja sidqin wa ja'alni min ladunka sultanan nasira. Wallah, let our entry be good with good intents, and let our end also end with good intents, that the little actions that we do, and give us constantly your help through the Imam of the time. And warn us of the day when we will remove the mountains, you will see the earth exposed, and we will gather them and not leave behind from them anyone. And they will be presented before your Lord in rows, and you have certainly come to us just as we created you the first time, but you claim that you would never make for you an appointment. Ayat number 48, and the warn of the day when we will remove the mountains and you will see earth exposed, and we will gather them and not leave them anyone there. So again, this is a physical thing will happen, and then the souls will be able to see Qiyamah, and some higher souls are already in the Qiyamah and the Barzakh. And the record of the deeds with the placed open, and you will see the criminals fearful of that within it, and they will say, oh, ya waylatana mali hadal kitab, what is in this book that leaves nothing small, yughadiru saghiratan wala khabira illa ahsaha wa wajada ma amila hadiran wala yazlimu rabbuka ahada. We've done this concept previous in Surah Ali Imran. This concept of hadir means our actions have a form and they have a presence, and they will be present in front of us within our characteristics. We are our hell. The pain that we see is the the pain that is because of the actions. And so they have it, the Jassamul Amal, they will have a embodiment of actions. They will have a form that we will be seeing, which will be present. And so no one will be done injustice. And this existential book that we are writing our actions on, means the book of our character traits, will, no one can lie, because how can you go away? How can you separate yourself from your character? It's not possible. So this book is the book of existence that we are writing down through our actions. And mentioned when we said, and so from ayat number 50 to ayat number 53, is some people go through the test of obedience. And so there was a test of shaitan. And mentioned when we said to the angels, prostrate to Adam, and they prostrated except for Iblis. He was of the jinn, departed, disobeyed the command of his Lord, and then we will take him and his descendants as allies other than me, while they are enemies to you. Wretched it is for the wrongdoers, as the Lizalimina Badala. And I did not make them witness to the creation of the heavens and the earth, or to the creation of themselves, and I would not have taken the misguiders as assistants. وَيَوْمَ يَقُولُ نَادُوا شُرَكَائِي, and warn of the day when he will say, call my partners whom you claimed, and they will invoke them, but they will not respond to them. And we will put between them a valley of destruction. So why do we expect? We are all imperfect beings. We are all limited. We are all journeying towards perfection. And so depending on someone or giving that attribute to someone that only Allah can do. And Allah assigns those who we have to do tawassul on, which is the Holy Messenger and the Ahlul Bayt. And that is only because of Allah assigns them as the ones who we go and we depend and we do tawassul on. Other than that, everyone is in the route to perfection. Everyone is weak and limited. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying there is only one who is to be called upon as the one who to rely, and the criminals will see the fire and will be certain that they are not, and they are to fall therein, and they will not find from it a way elsewhere. And so what shaitan essentially does, can deceive and distract only, and to tempt, to deceive and to distract and to tempt us with what? With what we truly are weak in. Sometimes I've noticed if we are weak in, if we like to oblige people. And so if we have that in us, then he will tempt us that, leave this goodly act, because what will others think of you? And, you'll become a laughing pot, like you'll become a laughing stock, and this will happen because that's the weakness, and he sees that weakness and then tempt. To the degree we forget Allah, to the degree he will tempt us. But it's in this month that he can't tempt us even. Then why are we doing the wrong? It's because we have not found repentance for those wrong. Either we have not repented for those actions, it's become part of our character. And now the character is one of who backbites. The character is the one who slanders. The character is the one who does those ills, the spiritual ills. And so even though shaitan is not tempting, but the character is such, unless one enters Ramadan completely clean slate and repented, then it's a different scene. So ayat number 54 to ayat number 59, there's guidance. Allah sends to us a form of guidance through the Quran. Yes, who would like to recite? 54 to 59.
I can recite.
Please go ahead.
And we have certainly diversified in this Quran for the people from every kind of example, but man has ever been most of anything prone to dispute. And nothing has prevented the people from believing when guidance came to them and from asking forgiveness of their Lord, except that there must befall them the accustomed precedent of the former peoples, and that the punishment should come directly before them. And we sent not the messengers except as bringers of good tidings and warners, and those who disbelieve dispute by using falsehood to attempt to invalidate thereby the truth, and have taken my verses and that of which they have warned in ridicule. And who is more unjust than one who is reminded of the verses of his Lord, but turns away from them and forgets what his hands have put forth? Indeed, we have placed over their hearts coverings, lest they understand it, and in their ears deafness. And if you invite them to guidance, they will never be guided then ever. And your Lord is the forgiving, the possessor of mercy. If he were to impose blame upon them for what they earned, he would have hastened for them the punishment. Rather, for them is an appointment from which they will never find an escape. And those cities, we destroyed them when they wronged, and we made for their destruction an appointed time.
Yes, so and so from ayat number 54 to 59, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is explaining as a guidance that the Quran has for people who, I like this, there are two attributes of Allah that we can cling on to, وَرَبَّكَ الْغَفُورُ ذُو رَحْمَةٍ, the owner of Rahmah and the owner of the one who forgives and covers and forlooks our sins. And so whenever we're reading the ayats of impose blame upon them for what they were earned, he would have hastened for them the punishment, rather for them as an appointment. So not to lose hope in Allah and to go resort for repentance. And ayat number 50, ayat number 60 to ayat number 82, if anybody would like to recite, then I'll just do a summary and then we will do the narration of Zulkarnain and we will end here. Who would like to recite from ayat number 60 to ayat number 82?
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Yes, please go ahead. 60 to 82.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. And mention when Moses said to his boy, that is servant, I will not cease traveling until I reach the junction of the two seas or continue for a long period. But when they reached the junction between them, they forgot their fish, and it took its course into the sea, slipping away. So when they had passed beyond it, Moses said to his boy, bring us our morning meal. We have certainly suffered in this our journey much. Fatigue.
Just 1 minute here, Tanya, just 1 minute. So this narration is about Nabi Musa and his disciple Yusha bin Nun, and Nabi Musa wanted to know if there is more knowledge and if there's anybody more knowledgeable than Nabi Musa. Remember, Nabi Musa was an Ulul Azam prophet, messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who was given legislative law, which is the Torah. So he was a very high status of infallibility, and here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is now teaching him more knowledge of the hidden realm, which is knowledge of the tariqa realm, knowledge of the barzaki realm, and the higher realm, the hidden realm, and so the metaphysical realm. And so as Nabi Musa is doing this journey, he takes Yusha bin Nun, and there is a point where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has directed him that when you reach between these two seas, you will meet my servant. And who is the servant? They say is Nabi Khizr, some say he's a prophet, some say he's an imam, but more so a prophet who had this, who had the ability, a prophet who had an ability to have control, not only in the physical realm, but he was controlling the hidden realm. And so why is this story in Surah Kahf, a surah which tells us that how to interact with the zina of this dunya? So how do you interact with the zina of this dunya? Through Tawheed. When you interact with the zina of this dunya, with the gifts that Allah has given you through Tawheed, know that there will be situations and challenges in life, which is part of this system for your spiritual growth. When you go through challenges in life, if you come through the test of faith, read this surah. If you come through the test of wealth, read this surah. If you come to the test of power, read this surah, which is Zulkarnain. If you come to these tests in life, also remember the story, the narration of Nabi Musa and Yusha bin Nun meeting Nabi Khidr. Why? Because remember, challenges and burdens in life have the potential for your spiritual growth, but there is a hidden realm which is controlling the physical realm, and there are always inner reasons. There are always higher reasons for these challenging purposes, and this story tells you what this. And so this is like a little summary of Surah Al-Kahf and the reasons why these are mentioned. Jeeb, go ahead.
He said, did you see when we retired to the rock? Indeed, I forgot there the fish, and none made me forget it except Satan, that I should mention it, and it took its course into the sea amazingly. Moses said, that is what we were seeking. So they returned, following their footprints. And they found a servant from among our servants, that is Al-Khidr alayhi salam, to whom we had given mercy from us and had taught him from us a certain knowledge. Musa alayhi salam said to him, may I follow you on the condition that you teach me from what you have been taught of sound judgment? He said, indeed, with me you will never be able to have patience. And how can you have patience for what you do not encompass in knowledge? Musa alayhi salam said, you will find me, if Allah wills, patient, and I will not disobey you in any order. He said, then if you follow me, do not ask me about anything until I make to you about it mention. That is explanation. So they set out until when they had embarked on the ship. He, Khidr alayhi salam, tore it open. Musa alayhi salam said, have you torn it open to drown its people? You have certainly done a grave thing. Al-Khidr alayhi salam said, did I not say that with me you would never be able to have patience? Musa alayhi salam said, do not blame me for what I forgot and do not overwhelm me in my matter with difficulty. So they set out until when they met a boy, he, Al-Khidr alayhi salam, killed him. Musa alayhi salam said, have you killed a pure soul for other than having killed a soul? You have certainly done a deplorable thing. Al-Khidr alayhi salam said, did I not tell you that with me you would never be able to have patience? Musa alayhi salam said, if I should ask you about anything after this, then do not keep me as a companion. You have obtained from me an excuse. So they set out until when they came to the people of a town. They asked its people for food, but they refused to offer them hospitality. And they found therein a wall about to collapse. So he, Al-Khidr alayhi salam, restored it. Musa alayhi salam said, if you wished, you could have taken for it a payment. Al-Khidr alayhi salam said, this is parting between me and you. I will inform you of the interpretation of that about which you could not have patience. As for the ship, it belonged to poor people working at sea. So I intended to cause a defect in it, as there was after them a king who seized every good ship by force. And as for the boy, his parents were believers, and we feared that he would overburden them by transgression and disbelief. So we intended that their Lord should substitute for them one better than him in purity and nearer to mercy. And as for the wall, it belonged to 2 orphan boys in the city, and there was beneath it a treasure for them, and their father had been righteous. So your Lord intended that they reach maturity and extract their treasure as a mercy from your Lord. And I did it not of my own accord. That is the interpretation of that about which you could not have patience.
Yes. So here, Nabi Musa and Nabi Khidr is guiding Nabi Musa to a new order, to a new way of doing, leading mankind, and saying that you are the prophet of Sharia, you are the prophet who guides people through the physical realm. However, Allah has given me authority not only in the physical, but in a higher realm, in a hidden realm, in a batini realm, where situations are not only the cause and effect is not only there, but there's a higher realm which is overwhelming this physical realm, and they're connected. And so sometimes we might see it's because of this reason this happened, but we don't realize there's a higher reason, a hidden reason, and a hidden realm. So here Nabi Khidr was giving Nabi Musa knowledge of this hidden realm, so that then he will have authority not only in the physical realm, but then he'll then be a prophet of be able to control from the higher realm as well and guide people towards both. And so the story about capsizing the boat and making it, so sometimes we go through loss, and sometimes losses are there for a greater benefit. Sometimes we suffer, and there's secrets of the cosmos in that suffering too. All be whatever the thing might be, whatever the secret might be, reason might be for our suffering, whatever the reason might might be. But what's most important is this, that there is our spirit potential for our spiritual growth. It depends on how we interact with these situations, and depends whatever the reason might be. So one of the reasons is this. The other reason was for the boy to kill that boy, and Nabi Khidr explained to him that killing that boy was because the boy, Nabi Khidr was explaining to him is that the boy had perfected himself in vice. Now there was no more point for his growth, and hence he had to get rid of him so that he doesn't perfect himself more so in vices. And because his parents were virtuous parents, and so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to save the parents and save the child to further increase in vices. And so he had reached his spiritual threshold. He had reached his complete end of any more actions, and he had perfected himself in vice. And so a lot of people ask, well, if he was given a chance, maybe he would have. But however, when the soul perfects himself in vice, then with Allah's mercy, Allah removes that person from his mercy of existence in this dunya, so that he cannot perfect, so that he can then go to the other realm. And it's so if you look at it with an overall order, it is a perfection in cosmos. And those parents led to the birth of, to some say, 70 prophets. They had a child, and then the child had their children, and they had prophets from the lineage of that one child that their parents gave birth to after this child passed away. And these prophets were vital in continuation of the order of the cosmos and people's overall salvation. So we don't understand what's the entire picture and the entire perfection of the cosmos. And that's why we just base it on kitni chota tha, kitna young tha, kitna bada tha, because we are seeing it from a very limited physical perspective, but we're not seeing it from an overall higher spiritual perspective. And so hence we people who have limited perspective, we say Allah knows best, Allah is all wise, all just, all merciful. But here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us an understanding also through Nabi Khidr teaching to Nabi Musa. For that to happen, it happened under the order of Nabi Khidr. And why was Nabi Musa not okay with it? Because remember, he was a prophet of the Sharia, control of the physical realm. And in the physical realm, it's haram to kill. So it was okay for him to say, this is wrong for you to do, because for him, it was an innocent boy and you're just going and killing. And he saw this boy as a hindrance. And for this happening, but for Nabi Khidr, he was seeing it that this boy is a hindrance towards the perfection of the cosmos. And he was perfected himself in virtue, vice, and he had to be removed. And for this happened, for this overall perfection of cosmos, Nabi Khidr did what he did. And someone who has knowledge of the batin, tariqah, had to do it. Prophet Musa had knowledge of the Sharia, and he didn't have such a responsibility then. This action would have been haram as they are looking at it from a limited Sharia point of view, and that is his duty. He had to go against this ruling, and as he was enjoined to execute the welfare of the Sharia of the Zahiri dimension of the cosmos, here Nabi Khidr was giving him a Batini dimension of the cosmos, how this cosmos runs and the perfection of this cosmos and the balance of the cosmos. We see it from the physical realm. Due to the Batini welfare of the cosmos, this boy had to be gotten rid of, and Nabi Khidr could have done it. Someone who is in charge of the Sharia, like Nabi Musa, wouldn't have. But someone who is in charge of the tariqah, the batini, the higher, the hidden realm, would accept it. And Allah inspired something upon Nabi Musa with this story, and it made it now preparing him to in charge the tariqah and the sharia altogether. And that's how he prepares his prophets for higher posts and higher infallibility and higher ways of messengership. And we notice this and also in Nabi Ibrahim and Nabi Dawood, that when they are going to, then a test comes and they learn from it and they increase in their certitude and they grow to higher realms of certitude and infallibility. So here is about the boy, and then it was about, it's not only that destroying, then it was about this land where Nabi Khidr and Nabi Musa were together, and he built and repaired and restored this wall which had which had these orphans' treasures. And so Nabi Musa was like, why would you, these people are, but he explained to him the inner meanings that the father was a virtuous man and Allah wants to safeguard their treasure so that we build a wall, and in time when it falls, they will be able to see the treasure. So there's always a higher purpose and a hidden purpose in a hidden realm that we are not aware of, and whatever happens, it happens out of Allah's perfection, Allah's mercy, Allah's justice, Allah's wisdom. And this story, in a way, not story, this narration in a way is narrating to us the hidden realm and how it works also. Yeah, and now comes the narration from ayat number 83 to 98, the test of authority. Dhul Qarnayn is said to have authority. Some say that he was King Cyrus, but he was a very spiritual person who had a lot of control of power and how he used the power. But today I don't want to only share with you the historical background of the story. You can do it. You can go into Tafsir and read it. But I want to share quickly with you the Batini understanding. Remember, our whole purpose of this Surah Kahf is how do I interact with the gifts that Allah has given me through Tawheed, that I don't associate it to myself and say, my child, my husband, my house, everything is mine, and then get drowned in it and get distracted and tempted and heedless of our purpose. Min ain ila ain. How do I go through it? Through Tawheed. So Allah gives us different examples of tests will come your way. But how do I strengthen my Tawheed? That's the important. Okay, I know Allah is one, not two. I know nothing belongs to me. I'm a safekeeper. But how do I increase my Tawheed and strengthen it? The Batini understanding of this surah, of this part of this surah, is a practical protocol, which I am super excited to share with you. And that is of how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, real quick, let me just,
historical narrative too much. I want to go through the botany aspects of this story. So I'll go through the verse of the Quran and then go through the botany meanings of it and see how all this is linked with this endeavor of Safwa and Marwa and how it all helps you to increase with your Tawheed. وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنْ ذِي الْقَرْنَيْنِ. So they ask you about the Qarnayn. قُلْ سَأَتْلُو عَلَيْكُمْ مِنْهُ ذِكْرًا. Say, I'll recite to you a mention of him. إِنَّا مَكَّنَّا لَهُ فِي الْأَرْضِ. Here, the earth, Ard, we have traditions from Ahlul Bayt, where Ard, in the physical earth, the surface area of the earth, in the Batini sense, it's referring to one's body and heart, one's kingdom, but the kingdom of oneself, the Ard, one's outer and inner faculties. Here, the verse says, we've established for Dhul Qarnayn. So here, Dhul Qarnayn, in the Batini sense, is the I, me. Here, Allah has established for us, for example, your kingdom, your body. وَآتَيْنَاهُ مِنْ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ سَبَبًا. And He's brought forth of everything away. He's given away in relation to everything. Because you, as a human being, you have the potential to manifest all of Allah's attributes. And whatever cause you see in this world, whatever thing that is happening, it's one of Allah's attributes in play. And you, as a human being, you can manifest those attributes. For example, in the physical realm, in this infinite physical realm, all of Allah's attributes are in play and manifesting. But also in you, the individual, you can manifest all of Allah's attributes too. We've established for him, in himself, in his body, and we've brought forth everything for him away. Whatever he wants to do, we've given him that way to do it. For me and you too. In our quest towards perfection, we have the way to attain to perfection within us, and we can use it. And he followed the way or away. The I can act on the path with that which is on the path of Allah's will and use and be a manifestation of those divine attributes. It's possible. We can do it. We are the true through Khalifatullah, we can manifest Allah's attributes more than other entities. Now, with that potential that we have, حتى إذا بلغ مغرب الشمس. Now, it's showing here the Al-Qarnayn is traveling from the west to the east. He's traveling. He first says, until he reached a place where the sun sets. Okay? It's a historical narrative. It happened. It really did. And he went to the west of a given land. Now the eye, has to endeavor and travel introspectively within us from west to east. It starts from the west, our inner traveling. He traveled to a place where the sun sets. It's becoming darker. The sun's light is becoming less. The sun is setting. And the verse reads, وَجَدَهَا تَغْرُبُ فِي عَيْنٍ هَمِئَةٍ. And he saw the sun as if it's going into a muddy water. You know, when you see the sun from afar, and there's an ocean in between, it's as if it's going inside the water. We travel within. Is ghurub, the setting of the sun, has a zahiri meaning, the sun setting, has a batini meaning. But the divine attributes of Allah are not reflecting much and are lessening. It's a sign of the nafs here, nafs al-ammara. The divine attributes of Allah are at a low. You have to introspect within you. Dhul Qarnayn went to such a place where the sun was setting, as if it was entering muddy waters. وَوَجَدَ عِنْدَهَا قَوْمًا. He perceived at that place a people. You introspectively, you go and travel within you those places that you know Allah's attributes aren't manifesting as they should, where your spirituality is failing, where divine light is setting. Dhul Qarnayn, the eye, saw a people there. You see your faculties within you, and that those faculties are failing with respect to manifesting Allah's attributes. No, we said, Ya Dhul Qarnayn. We said, oh, Dhul Qarnayn. It shows he was a man of God. He's speaking with God. Well, Allah is speaking with him. Imma and tu'adhiba, either you punish those people in the historical story, wa imma or and tattakhidha fihim husna, you adopt with respect to them decency, goodness. You, in the batini sense, you travel within, you introspect. You start with areas where you feel you're failing. Look in Safa and Marwa too. Where do you start? True, you start with Safa, but your attentiveness at the beginning is towards Marwa. And which divine attributes you haven't incorporated or which are minimal. You see the faculties within you which are failing in disclosing the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Dhul Qarnayn, I got the instruction from Allah. You have to either punish those faculties or you have to be lenient with them. Those faculties, you have to either punish or you have to be lenient. Introspectively, faculties are failing. Some may not be failing. The prescription is you have to punish or you have to show kindness to those faculties. How? Dhul Qarnayn said, Amma man dhalama, one who does wrongdoing, فَسَوْفَ نُعَذِّبُهُ. We'll punish them. I'm going to punish them. If they did wrongdoing, we're going to punish them. ثُمَّ يُرَدُّ إِلَى رَبِّهِ فَيُعَذِّبُهُ عَذَابًا نُكْرًا. And then they're going to be consigned to Allah, and Allah will punish them a terrible punishment. Because some sins that we do, if you don't repent for it, you will be punished thereafter. It's only when you repent you will be punished thereafter. So, you introspect. The faculties you see, they're not manifesting Allah's attributes. They're failing in their function. Punish it. Make sure you punish them. If you haven't expressed or displayed generosity, if you are...
I think maybe the internet connection is not well. I'm getting some messages that maybe it's not audible. Anyhow, so Dhul Qarnayn is a man of God, and he receives and he's able to speak to God, and he comes and he's on his journey to be a journey of power where he is able to conquer, and he reaches a land where he's able to see that the sun is not setting and the people are weak, and he wants to help them. And the Batini understanding is this, that as you journey in the after journey within. The Urafa explain the Batini understanding. And remember, they're not doing it just by themselves, just, okay, let me say this and this is the meaning of this. They're doing it after close introspection of traditions of the Ahlul Bayt, different Quranic ayat, and then they come up with this Batini interpretation. It's not just, I'll post this entire talk so that you can hear the introduction as well. So when he reaches the land, like how can we increase our tawheed? Number one is muraqabah. Number one is introspecting our own selves, seeing within ourselves and the land of our own heart, and seeing how much. And he reached a land where the people were weak and the sun was not, and where the sun would not set, in the sense in the established upon the earth, and until when we reached the setting of the sun, he found it as a setting in the body of the dark water, and he found near it a people, punish or else adopt them. So the sun was setting, it was a murky place, and so what does this mean? The sun setting means Allah's attributes are not manifesting. So introspecting your heart and saying, which are the attributes of Allah that I am not? The course that recently, and it's still ongoing, that we're doing is attributes of Allah, understanding them, and then how do I incorporate them in my life? And how do I cling upon them? And how do I manifest them more so? By first understanding it rationally and then endeavoring. And so in this course is all about increasing Tawheed. The more, one, rational Tawheed. Number two is to introspect and see how many qualities of Allah am I truly manifesting. He is forgiving. Am I forgiving? He is generous. Am I generous? He is satarul uyub. Do I conceal the sins of others? All these attributes, and the where place where you feel like its sun is setting, in the sense they're low of the attributes, unable to forgive. There's arrogance, there's jealousy, there's greed, not being able to give easily, or not being able to let go, not being able to forgive, not being able to forelook. Then that's the place when you introspect, you wait, and you work on that skill. You work on that attribute of Allah. You pray, Ya Ghafoor, you think about it. Why am I not able to forgive? You go back to Tawheed. The degree you're able to manifest that name of Allah, the more your Tawheed will grow. And the more you'll be able to go through this journey of life and reach that heaven with the green and musk and all, and reach, actually, we want to reach the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's the journey that in a Batini sense has been spoken of. Then the second journey was he reached a place where the people were strong and the sun was manifesting, and the sun here means the attributes of Allah were manifesting, and so you show kindness and you reward. And then the third journey is from ayat number 92 and 93 until when he reached a pass. And the third journey is where he reached where is the Quran? Yes. The third journey is where he reached ayat number 93, where it says, until when he reached a pass between the two mountains, and until he reached the pass where he reached the two mountains, and he found besides them a people who could hardly understand his speech. What does the mean here that he could hardly understand his speech? They were spiritually very low. They were drowned in the physical realm, and they were bare in spirituality, just had no access to the spiritual realm. So how would he help them? They said, "Oh, Zulkarnain, indeed Yajuj and Majuj have overcome us, and they're attacking us." Here, the Urafa say the Yajuj and the Majuj are what is our enemy? The enemy within is the faculty of conquering, the Ghadabiyya and the Shahwiyya. These two faculties. When we want to conquer others, we want to supersede, we want our word should be our last word. And the Quwwat al-Shahwiyya here means the faculty of desires, where they overcome you, and then you are at a very low spiritual status and growth. So here, how is Dhul-Qarnain going to help them, and what is the Batini protocol? So for you, expenditure that you might make between us and them a barrier. How do we make this barrier? How don't we let this ghadabiyya, this anger and this faculty of desires not overcome us, but let our aql and let our godly self guide us? What should we do? So he said, then in which my Lord has established me is better, but assist me with strength, and I will make between you and them a dam. So if you help me, so this strength means have a strong resolve. First, recognize, realize, understand that, okay, I do have an anger issue, or I do have, my desires do overcome me, and I know it's wrong, but it just takes the better out of me. What do I do? Tawheed, number one, that understand why you're doing what you're doing, where you lack in Tawheed, and then a strong resolve that I'm not going to. So how do you get this strong resolve? Bring me bars of iron. Until when he had leveled, this ayat number 96 is very, very important. This part here, وَآتُونِي زُبُرَ الْحَدِيدِ حَتَّى إِذَا سَأْوَى بَيْنَ السَّدَفَيْنِ قَالَ أَنْفَقُوا. And so until when he had leveled between the two mountains walls, and blew until when he had made it fire. So it's like, when you have to build, when you have to make a building, and then you have to well it. So when you're doing welding, what you do, you take fire and then you weld on the steel so that it can hold on together. So what is this fire? In a tradition, it says, this is the most beautiful part. In the tradition, it says that the fire is the love of Allah, which burns in everyone's heart. And if this fire is strong, and the fire will burn whatever comes your way. If this love of Allah is strong within you, your khulus, with sincerity, it's strong within you, it can burn away, and it can extinguish the fire of anger and the appetite of desire. Depending on how much love of Allah do you have, that this fire can truly extinguish and burn away and bring down this Yajuj and Majuj, which is the inner enemy of us, which is the desire, not inner enemy, but which is a faculty which needs to be tamed and controlled, which is the faculty of desire and ghadab. And so it's the fire of Allah, it's the love of Allah. How do I increase the love of Allah? It's Tawheed. The more I know Allah, the more I will want to yearn His pleasure, and the yearning is the love of Allah that I want, the attentiveness of Allah, to be able to, and through gratitude, and also through gratitude, bring me, and that I may pour over it molten copper. And so, so with faith and actions, how can faith and action, which was like these two people on the side, and you have to build a strong wall, is with these faith and action, you need strong resolve. And the strong resolve can come with the love of Allah. The stronger you have this love of wanting to please my Allah, tell me, what is it that I can please? And it's not like He's a thing He needs to be pleased, or existence. He's always pleased. However, it's our yearning to come in proximity to Allah, come closer to Allah. The closer you come to Him, the closer you'll get to His properties. If you go closer to the fire, you'll feel the warmth. So the closer you come in characteristics of Allah, the more you will have His qualities. And how is that? What is that motivation and push? Is the love of Allah. And Allah Himself says in the Holy Quran, if you claim you love me, in Surah Al Imran, Qul in kuntum tuhibbun Allah fattabi'uni, follow in the footsteps of the Prophet. First is the Sharia of the Prophet. If you know something is halal, do it. If you know something is haram, stay away from it. And then the tariqah, follow in the noble ethical traits of the Prophet. And then the hakika, purifying your intents by having sincerity in what we do. This is the way how your tawheed can grow through this. So they, Yajuj and Majuj, were unable to pass over it, and nor were they able to affect it in it and any penetration. Ayat number 98, this is a mercy from my Lord, but when the promises of my Lord comes, He will make it level. Ever is a promise of my Lord true. And we will leave them that day surging over each other, and then the horn will be blown, and we will assemble them in one assembly. Ayat number 98 to 108 is about Qiyamah, and we will present hell and that day to the disbelievers on display. And those whose eyes had been within a cover removed by my remembrance, they will not be able to hear. Then do those who disbelieve think that they can take my servants instead of me as allies? Indeed, we have prepared hell for the disbelievers as a logic. Of these ayats are so beautiful, but they're so deep also. It's so much to say. Say, shall we believers inform you of the greatest losers as to their deeds? الذين ضل سعيهم في الحياة الدنيا وهم يحسبون أنهم يحسنون صنعا. They are those whose effort is lost in the worldly life of this world, while they think that they are doing well in work. Why? Because the intents are not pure. if the intents are not sincere. Those are the ones whose disbelief in the verses of their Lord, in their meeting him, so their deeds have become worthless, and we will not assign to them on the day of resurrection any weight. That is their recompense, hell, for what they denied, and because they took my signs and my messengers as ridiculous. Allah save us from mocking the Sharia. If we don't understand it, it's fine, but may we be saved from this sin of mocking the Holy Messenger and his Sharia. And indeed, those who believed and done righteous deeds, they will have gardens of paradise as a lodging. Khalidina fiha la yabghuna anha hawala. They will not desire from it any transfer. Say, if the sea were ink for the writing the words of my Lord, and the sea would be exhausted before the words of my Lord were exhausted, and even if we brought the like of it in continual supplement, say, Kul innama ana basharam mithlukum yuha ilayya innama ilahukum ilahun wahid, faman kana yarju liqa'a rabbihi, faman kana yarju liqa'a rabbihi falya'amal amala salihan. I am only a warner. I am only a bashar. Bashar here, it means that the Holy Messenger had a physical dimension and a spiritual dimension. Yes, physically he looks like you and me, but spiritually he is Rahmatul Alameen, the best of creatures on this earth, who is manifest Allah's attributes. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says here to the Holy Messenger that what is revealed to you is revealed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So whoever would hope for meeting liqa Allah here means meeting Allah's attributes of meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with his attributes of virtues, his Rahmaniyah, his Rahimiyah. What shall he do? Let him do righteous acts with pure intents. Wala yushrik bi ibadati rabbi ahada. So we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he gives us tawfiq wal amala salihan tarda. O Allah, Rabbi awzani an ashkara ni'matika allati an'amta alayya wa ala walidayya wa ana amala salihan tarda wa adkhilni bi rahmatika fi ibadika salihin. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, Rabbana taqabbal minna. Ya Allah, thank you so much for the opportunities to go through your word, to understand it, and to endeavor in it. Ya Allah, accept the endeavor and the patience of all the beings, these beautiful beings who have been here listening to your word. Ya Allah, accept our endeavors and our patience, and give us true actions with sincere intents. Give us a strong resolve, and above all, Ya Allah, give us this yearning for your love. Give us the love of your Habib, the Ahlul Bayt, and let us follow in their footsteps so that we may become the way you want us to be. Ya Allah, let Surah Kahf and its recitation be a shifa and a nur for us, guiding us in this world and in the next world. Rabbana taqabbal minna innaka antas samiul alim wa tub alayna innaka antat tawwabur rahim. Request for a Surah Fatiha for all our marhumin and the marhumin of the Holy Messenger's nation. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahmanir Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim, siratal ladhina an'amta alayhim, ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Thank you, ladies. Extreme apologies for going above time. I'm always in need of your du'as, in need of your constructive criticism and feedback. Inshallah, tomorrow we meet with the latter part of Surah of Juz 16. We've started Juz 16 with Surah Al-Maryam. Inshallah. Fi amanillah. Hafiz.